Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And today I brought with me both of the Melody Beatty books, and then I also brought with me A Year of Positive Thinking, Daily Inspiration, Wisdom, and Courage by Cindy Spiegel. So, it's just one sentence, but I thought we could start with A Year of Positive Thinking, the Cindy Spiegel book. June 9th, regret is a wasted emotion. Regret won't right any wrongdoing. As best you can, let go. Choose forgiveness and forge ahead, onward and upward. Interesting that this is in the book of positive thinking. I think it's important to acknowledge regret, is what I think. I don't know that I necessarily agree with this statement. How do they word it? Hold on a second. That it's useless. I don't know that I necessarily think that it's useless, and let me explain to you why. Because I am somebody, it won't right any wrongdoing, that is true. Choose forgiveness and forge ahead. It's a wasted emotion. I don't know that I agree that it's a wasted emotion, and let me explain to you why. I am somebody that has some regrets in my life. You know, I have some things that if I could go back and change, I would. There are just some small things, you know. There's a few big things on there too, a few big things. The thing is this. Had they never happened, had what happened never happened, I wouldn't have learned a lesson from it, right? Because most of the bigger things that I regret in my life are things that I learned invaluable lessons from. So I think to use those experiences and those choices that I made, right, as learning experiences, I think is a really strong place to go to. But I think that before we get to the lesson, we have to feel the regret inside, or there's no remorse, or there's no feeling bad about it, right? So when people are like, I always just think it's interesting and I know there's probably a few of you out there, so I'm not trying to step on toes, but it's always interesting to me when people are like, I have no regrets. And I'm always like, you don't have one thing, not one thing in your 30 years or 25 years or 60 years, you don't have one thing that when you look back on in life that you wish maybe had turned out a little bit different, or that you wish maybe you had done differently, or, you know, somebody that you wish you had asked out, or a food that you never tried, or, you know, I remember at the end of my mom's life, one of the things that she said to me was, when you get to the end of your life, it's not the things you did that you regret, it's the things you never tried. You know, and I think that there's a lot to be said for that. There were a lot of things that my mom wanted to do with her life that she never did, you know? And that kind of makes me sad. So I think that for me, regret is not a wasted emotion, because when I feel regret about something, it allows me to acknowledge my emotions and my feelings in relation to whatever happened, okay? You know, and I could probably just sit here and just like spin off like 100, you know, regrets that I have. Do I choose to live in those regrets today? No, I don't do that, you know? What I choose to do is use those regrets as a way to say, in the future, what would I do differently, right? So, for example, you know, like, if I'm in a situation where like, okay, here's a good example. Peter in the past always felt like I was like intervening if a friend of mine or somebody, a family member of a friend of mine or somebody was sick, right? Like, I would never just show up. I would never take a casserole or a, you know, loaf of bread or whatever. I would never, you know, I always felt like it was being intrusive to their family or their experience. And I'd always be like, oh, they probably don't want me there or whatever. And then like the person would pass, and I would be at the funeral, and I would hear all these people say, I mean, this is like, you know, 10 years ago, but this is something I've really worked on, and specifically I would say the last 5 years. But then I'd be at the funeral, you know, and I would hear people, the family and my friends say, oh my God, it was so nice, like so-and-so came over and did this, and so-and-so brought this, and so-and-so, you know, and I'm just like, why didn't you just show up? Like, so many times through that whole thing, you know, and a lot of it was my social awkwardness and my fear and things like that of, you know, going into social situations like that, my social anxiety. But that kind of like stopped me from doing that. But I don't want to use that as an excuse to not be present and suit up and show up for other people, you know? And so I really worked on that. Today, when I hear that somebody's sick or something that's going, you know, whatever, is like, I try to suit up and show up, you know, and be that person today that I would want somebody to be for me. And you know what's interesting is the times that I've done it, because my excuse always was, and I really believed this, like I really, really believed this, that I was being intrusive to their family or their experience, you know? That I'd be like, I think I imagined it being like just, like this was with my friend Tanya, okay? Like, my friend Tanya has a very close-knit family. Like, she has 2 brothers, and they're very, very close. They're from a small town. She's very close with their wives and their kids. And so, for, like, anything that she has, whether it's, like, her son's graduation party, or, like, she's invited me over for family reunions, and she's like, everybody knows that you're my best friend, right? And so, I never would show up for years, and like I felt so bad about it. But then I remember her son's graduation party. I finally showed up to it, and everybody was so nice to me, you know. But I felt like I was being intrusive in something that was a private family thing. I don't feel like that today. I feel like, you know what, I'm in this person's life as well, and I want to show how much I care. So I've looked at that regret that I've had from the past and the things that I've missed, and I've turned it into a learning experience, you know. With my social anxiety, that's a good example too. Before, I would not show up to things because of my social anxiety and my fear of what are people going to say, blah, 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 whatever, you know. And then afterwards, I wouldn't go, and I'd say, how was it? And Alex would say, oh, it was so much fun, and so-and-so was here, and they said hi, and they missed you, and so-and-so was here. And I would think, God, I wish I would have gone. Well, isn't that a regret? And so then the next time I think to myself, don't forget that regret that you had, right? And go, and get ready, and just show up, and you'll have a good time. And that's how I am today. I try to take those regrets and turn them into something positive. So no, I don't feel like that regret is a wasted emotion. I don't agree with that. I can't. Because I think that it depends on what you do with that regret. You know what I mean? And it's not just about choosing to let it go. It's about learning from whatever you regret. Because I really do think regret is actually important in the whole process of learning lessons in our life, you know? Anyway, all right, so let's get to the next meditation. Let's see what it says. Let's read from Journey to the Heart by Melody Beatty. Daily meditations on the path to freeing your soul. June 9th. It's funny because I'm reading this book called Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh, it is so good. She's the one that wrote The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And this is her newest book, and it just came out. But one of the characters' names is June. So I just keep on thinking that. June 8th. Be gentle and loving. As I drove into Utah past Zion National Park, I began to feel the oddest sensation emanating from the earth. Emanating from me. It was soft, lovely, light. All evening, deer have been crossing my path. Is this the 8th or the 9th? I'm reading from the 8th. Oh well, we'll read from the 8th. All evening, deer have been crossing my path, coming to me from out of the woods. That's when I remembered, in the medicine cards, deer are the symbol for gentleness and love. The feeling coming from the ground, through the air, was gentleness, kindness, and love. The universe was reminding me of something. It was a place inside me, one I had discovered before. A place of gentleness and love. Somewhere along my life's journey with all its trials, moving about, business and experiences, I had let gentleness slip away. Now it was time to go there again. It was a reminder to be gentle and kind to others. Be gentle and kind to myself. Gentleness, kindness, and love are more than places to visit. They are places we can take with us wherever we go. I really, really, really like that meditation. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I thought I was reading the meditation from the 9th, but I wasn't. I love this idea of, you know, working towards being gentle and kind and loving, you know, and I say that on my vlog every night, that putting that out there into the world. I think to reach the point of being a gentle person, you know, I think it's an attribute that we often think of with children, right? But I have, like, my aunt used to always give me this book of poems. I can't remember I think it's Kavanaugh might be the poet. But the main poet in the name of the book is There Are Men Too Gentle to Live Among Wolves. And she always gave me that book and said, this book always reminds me of you and your Uncle Dave. And if you've never read the poem, it's fantastic. But, you know, I love the idea of moving towards gentleness, of treating people with gentleness and kindness and love and compassion, you know. And I think if we consciously thought more about doing that on a regular basis, then I think that we would grow into more loving, kind, compassionate, gentle people, right? I think even myself, we just don't really think about that on a regular basis, do we? Like, we don't really think about how we are in the world. I mean, that's where you do real work. You know, it's like, but I think I was reading that, like, this is probably why I put that book down and said no more. But do you remember I bought that book for the beginning of the year called The Daily Stoic? And it said at one point, it said to practice Stoicism like perfectly, you have to practice it like all day, every hour, I was like, oh my God, like I don't want to be analyzing myself that much, you know? Because I think you can go too far with some of it, right? But I do think that in what we're doing to ask ourselves, am I being gentle? Am I being kind? Am I being loving in what I'm doing, you know? I think that's a way to move towards that. And I think it's important to do that. So, great meditations today. I loved both of these. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope you guys are having a fantastic, what is today, Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday. And I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.